This week on Rangeless, we're on our Borneo road trip adventure. We start this week in pouring hot springs in central Sabah, heading east in search of orangutan and sun bears. We're at the hot springs, and tomorrow we want to go see the Sun Bear Conservatory and the Orangutan Observatory, which are both in Sepilok, which is about 4 hours away from where we are right now. Let's go. Most of the drive was uneventful, until we got to a police checkpoint. We were singled out of the line of traffic and told to pull the car over to the side of the road and wait. Well, that's a checkpoint, so I want my passport. I don't know why I want my passport, but we'll see. It's always a little intimidating being pulled over by police in other countries. This was our first interaction with the police here, and we weren't fully sure what to expect. He just wanted to look at him. He barely even looked at him. I don't know what that was all about, but yeah. Maybe they're looking for somebody.
We are on our next spot to where we're going tomorrow. And we pulled over, got some food, and Ryan's about to try sambal, and he's never had it before. And it is spicy and it is delicious.
Yeah?
You use it just as like a flavoring, so you can put like a little bit in your rice, a little bit with your chicken, but it's very, very little amount because it's very spicy. Like so that is way too much. So just take a little bit of it and just like try a little bit of it, like the bottom of your spoon.
Yeah.
How is it? Good?
Yeah. So now I mix that in with the rice. And
yeah.
Some rice. Yeah.
You like it?
Mm-hmm.
Good. He likes it.
We drove for a little bit longer in the dark and finally found a quiet place to camp for the night. A few minutes away from the nature reserve. We settled in and watched a movie before going to sleep in the car.
Morning.
The next morning we woke up surrounded by thick jungle. We're here at the Orangutan Rehabilitation Center, just barely in time for the 10 o'clock feeding that they do here every day. They do a feeding at 10 o'clock and 3 o'clock every day, and that's supposed to be the best chance to see the orangutans.
These orangutans are considered semi-wild because they can come in and out of the rehabilitation center and the feeding area where they are freely. So some of them choose to come back, some of them don't choose to come back, and that's why it's a chance to see the orangutan. So we're really hoping to see some today.
I think it's going to be busy here this morning because the whole car park is full and we have to park out in the street outside. So I have a feeling like it's going to be a little bit crowded. So it's 30 per person and they charge you 10 for a camera. But to bring in a lens more than 400 millimeters will cost you almost $200. Luckily ours aren't this big, so we didn't have to leave them behind. We had to leave all the rest of our stuff in the lockers provided because the monkeys will try and steal your bags.
It is 9:50, so we have 10 minutes before they start getting the word.
There's a raised boardwalk all the way to the feeding area, and you have to wear a mask because the orangutan are susceptible to human diseases. The center is open year-round, including weekends, with feedings at 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. every day, and it's closed for 2 hours in the middle of the day.
Baby, there's another orangutan.
There was one full-grown male orangutan waiting on the platform for the ranger to show up with the food. And of course, wherever there's food, the cheeky macaques won't be far behind. But today it looks like the orangutan isn't in the mood for sharing his food. Or maybe he just wants to get up to mischief. A few minutes later, they were also joined by a young adolescent male who came out of hiding just before the ranger showed up with the goods. Typically, orangutan are chill and relaxed most of the time, and in the wild tend to hide from humans. But obviously here it's a different story, and they're well used to the park rangers. They even politely take food from him and quietly enjoy their meal. Unlike the macaques that are circling like vultures as they close in around the fruit and swarm the two orangutan, it gets a bit heated as they rush in to steal all the food. And the orangutans dish out a couple swipes and bare their teeth in warning. Monkeys hugely outnumber the two more polite orangutan, and they both decide to grab what they can and retreat to the safety of the treetops. With the orangutan gone, it turns into a free-for-all, with the smaller macaques trying to sneak a couple bites in between the larger males, claiming their territory. And after a surprisingly short amount of time, the food is reduced to scraps.
Borneo is one of the few places in the world left with wild orangutans, and seeing them, even if they're being fed and they can come in, was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. One of the big ones is still back there in one of the trees, but they're kind of funneling everyone out because they have baby orangutans, I guess, that they're rehabilitating right now. So we're gonna go check those out. The nursery where they have the baby orangutans.
The nursery was much more relaxed, as all the monkeys were still distracted over in the first area. Just look at this guy lounging about. The Orangutan Rehabilitation Center was founded in 1964 to rehabilitate orphaned orangutans that are a result of deforestation and the illegal pet trade. The center is located right on the edge of the Kabil Sepilok Forest Reserve, which is over 10,000 acres of protected nature reserves. In the rehabilitation center, they teach the orangutan how to survive out in the reserve on their own without the need for human support. This isn't always successful, but they say 66% of all the orangutan that come through here are successfully rehabilitated. They have also found that the female orangutan that are previously rehabilitated here often return when they give birth to baby orangutan, as they know there's a steady supply of food on which to raise their young, which is what happened in the case of this little guy. As Mom and the rest of the orangutan hang out and eat the fruit, the baby tries his best to escape and go exploring. Not on Mom's watch though. He's still too young to be off by himself. We stayed and watched for a while longer. Most of the orangutan that hang out by the nursery are adolescent, not quite ready to brave the much larger reserve all on their own. But in time they will most likely move on to live fully in the wild. We could have stayed there all day, but the park was closing, so we had to head towards the exit.
We grabbed a really affordable lunch right outside the main gate for 6 rand. I think now we're ready, because right across from the orangutan reserve and rehabilitation, there's the Sun Bears. The orangutan reserve is closed from 12 to 2 for lunch. There's a feeding at 10, and then there's an afternoon feeding when they open back up at 3. The Sun Bears are open from, I think, 8 in the morning. It's either 8 or 9 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. So we're gonna go see them for a little bit and then head back, because your tickets at the Orangutan Reserve are good all day long. So we caught the 10 a.m. feeding. We're gonna go see the Sun Bears, and we're gonna go back, see the orangutans again. Smallest bear. It's because they haven't met Layla. Layla looks like a sun bear.
Yeah,
or the one with the real wide eyes.
Oh, that could be Layla too.
That's Layla.
For those of you who don't know, Layla is our dog who travels around the USA with us in our van. And if you ask us, her resemblance to some bears is uncanny.
Layla looks like a sun bear. Oops. Layla looks like a sun bear. That's Layla. Two.
This guy was hanging out right by the entrance, waiting to greet us as we came in. He seemed really happy just to hang out and snooze on his stump all day. Oh yeah, look at him. Hello, Layla. Hello, Mr. Bear. He's sniffing.
They're so cute. They have like different patterns on their chests, and there's pictures that show all the different patterns, so I'm trying to identify which one this is. sweet girl. I love sun bears. I don't know what I liked more, the orangutans or the sun bears. Why is it so cute?
He's scratching his paws. He's scratching his paws.
I love the sun bears. What time is it? Oh, it's 1:45. So we have until like 2:30-ish before we have to be back to see the orangutans being fed for the second time. And there's a sleepy sun bear in a tree, and I got a picture with his tongue out like... They exit through the gift shop.
All proceeds from the gift shop go directly towards looking after the sun bears in the conservation center. So I think we can make some room in the budget to get a t-shirt. So one thing we learned here was that a lot of these bears end up here because of the illegal pet trade. Their mothers will be killed by poachers and the cubs will be bought by these illegal pet dealers and sold to people. And then they keep it in their houses, and when the bear gets too big, they just put it in a little cage. So literally the bear is never out in the wild or anything, and all it knows is a cage. So when they're trying to introduce it to trees and things like that, they get scared and they run for the cage and climb on the cage because that's all they know. And there's other bears that are so used to humans and so lonely without humans that they self-harm. They like scratch themselves in the sides when they're left alone without people around. It's really upsetting just to see that people can ruin all the lives of all these bears. We got to rush over there because we have to put all the stuff away. You're not allowed to bring any bags. No, only your phone and a camera if you pay for it. We got to get everything put away before they start feeding these orangutans.
We gotta go. We gotta get the good spots. We're back for the second feeding. We're early this time instead of running behind. Feeding's at 3. It's like 2:30, and it's just which is going to be the best spot. The platform's right out there, so we're just going to situate ourselves directly in front of the platform. I mean, it's the plan of action.
The afternoon feeding was completely different to the morning and a lot less dramatic. Only one orangutan showed up by himself to eat, and he sat with his back to the crowd for pretty much the entire time. I get it, I wouldn't like a bunch of strangers watching me eat either. One large macaque showed up also, but they were both relaxed as they had more than enough food to share. Then when they were done eating, they both went their separate ways. We went back over to the nursery for the afternoon feeding. Again, it wasn't as busy as the morning. There was a mother with a young child feeding on the platform, and it was fun to watch the young one learn how to climb and swing on the ropes by watching its mother. It was interesting to see the difference between this and the baby from this morning. Before we knew it, it was closing time and we had to leave. We could have stayed there all day watching the orangutan, but unfortunately, we had to go.
I think we got really lucky today and saw so many orangutans. I'm glad we came this morning and then again this evening, because this morning we saw a good amount, and then this evening we saw a good amount over in the nursery, but not really anything over in like the open feeding area. So I'm glad we had 2 chances to see them. It really like makes it worth it.
This is one of my most favorite things that I've done in our whole Southeast Asia trip so far, because like I've never seen semi-wild or wild orangutan before, only in zoos. So like this is literally their entire reserve is for them. So it's nice to see them in their natural habitat. Even if there's a little bit of human intervention in there for feeding and like trying to rehabilitate them into going back into the wild. Yeah, unfortunately a lot of the rainforest or our jungle here is really threatened by the palm oil plantations. So these orangutans are losing their habitats on a weekly basis. It's crazy the amount in the last few years how big that these plantations have gotten and how much jungle is being destroyed in order for profit, basically. It's sad. It's really sad. You lose all of these amazing creatures for the sake of what? But the work that they do here is really, really good. They take in orphaned orangutan, they feed them, they teach them how to survive on their own, and then they rehabilitate them. If they can, they'll put them back in the wild. They say 66% of the orangutan here go back to the wild, which I think is really impressive.
That's it for this week on Rangeless. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button, because next week we're going into the wilds of Borneo on the Kinabatangan River, one of the last places to find fully wild orangutans in the world. We'll be searching the river by boat and trekking through the jungle in search of wild orangutan.